Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains, sometimes you pitch really freaking well, and you lose. That's what happened yesterday. Brewers fall 2-1 to the Dodgers. Man, these have been 3 really good games. Let's look at the big picture. Let's find some silver linings. Season's far from over. No need to panic yet. You're locked on.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good morning. It's Thursday, August 18th. I'm Dominic Petronio. This is Locked On Brewers, your only daily podcast, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, dedicated to your Milwaukee Brewers all season long. We post episodes Monday through Friday right here for your first listen of the day. I'm the post-game host on 620 WTMJ, Brewers Extra Innings, and I'm also the statistician for Bally Sports Wisconsin. I'm at just about every single game for the Brew Crew, and yesterday was one of those games that you pull away the lens of being an employee of, Brewers affiliated folks. That was a hell of a baseball game, man. That was entertaining, amazing pitching, a great duel between Tony Gonsolin and Eric Lauer. We're going to break down Eric Lauer's start. We're going to try to diagnose what's going on with the offense right now. We're also going to look ahead at Corbin Burns Day. Look, you've got a chance to split this series, a 4-game set with Corbin Burns on the mound. We're going to look ahead a little bit, too. Let's get a quick standings update, though. Some chaos happening yesterday across Major League Baseball. The Yankees won on a walk-off grand slam when they were down to rights. They were down 3 runs. They had an ultimate walk-off grand slam in the 10th inning against the Rays. They went 8-7. That was crazy yesterday. But in the National League, the Brewers are now 3 games back of the St. Louis Cardinals, who won yesterday. They beat the Rockies 5-1. And furthermore, they're 2 games back of San Diego, who won earlier yesterday. They defeated Miami. They stomped them 10-3. Philly did lose yesterday, so they're only a half game up on San Diego. But as things stand right now in the standings, the Brewers are 2 games back of a wild card spot and 3 games back of the Central. But when you look at the wild card, they're really 3 games back because they don't hold the tiebreaker on either Philly or San Diego. That's a quick update. Plenty of season to go. No reason to panic yet. The Brewers are now 62-54. They've played 116 games. That means there's 46 games to go. It's going to be over in the blink of an eye, but over these next 7 weeks, I still believe there's a lot of good baseball in the Brewers. And last night was a game that could have been one of those nights, but you ran into a Cy Young candidate. If the season ended today and I had a vote for the Cy Young, I would go Sandy Alcantara 1, Corbin Burns 2, Tony Gonsolin 3. That splitter was legit yesterday. I was very impressed with what Tony Gonsolin was able to do. You can see why he's 15-1, and I know I've talked about how dumb the win is for pitchers especially, but a 2.12 ERA and a 15-1 record, that doesn't fly with just, he gets a ton of run support. No, He's been a very good player. He has improved a ton this year. Looking at his heat maps on Baseball Savant, it's impressive how much control he has. He's only walked 32 batters now, 33 batters in 123 innings, and he added 8 more strikeouts. He doesn't strike out the world. He just doesn't allow base runners. He's only allowed 73 hits now in 123 innings. That's phenomenal. Opponents hitting under 190 against him. This is what is going to happen when your offense is struggling to find consistency right now and you're facing a legitimate top 3 Cy Young contender. If Sandy Alcantara wasn't doing what he's doing right now, if he comes back down to earth, Tony Gonsolin is certainly in it for the rest of this season. He has been phenomenal for the Dodgers. You can see why they are thinking so highly of him, and he's been a huge part of the rotation, stabilizing things with Clayton Kershaw being injured for most of the year, for on and off for some of the year. Walker Buehler is now out of the year. Trevor Bauer, with all of that stuff, I'm not even touching that with a 50-foot pole, but Trevor Bauer hasn't pitched this year. They've needed this out of him. Really, their most consistent starters, the Brewers have faced both of them in this series, Julio Urias and Tony Gonsolin. The fact that the Brewers have held in there, they've had an opportunity to win both of the games they lost, should tell you a lot about the Brewers. We're going to break down Lauer's start here in the next segment, but I want to jump out here and just say, look, if I told you through 3 games, without telling you what the record would be, Hey, game 1, you're only going to allow 3 earned runs against the Dodgers. Hey, game 2, you're only going to allow 3 earned runs against the Dodgers in 11 innings. In game 3, you're only going to allow 2 earned runs against the Dodgers. Every single one of you would take that. And don't you dare say, oh, I expected that. No, this team was coming in with 79 wins. They're the best team in baseball, preseason World Series favorites. Holding them to 3 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 2 earned runs is incredible, very impressive, and in a hitter-friendly ballpark in American Family Field. Yes, the home run has tagged them, and it's burned them here in this series. The Brewers' pitching has done their job, and I know you're thinking, well, why hasn't the hitting done their job? Well, you don't get to be the best team in baseball by only being good at one thing. They have the best team batting average, and they have the best ERA as a team. They do damage on both sides of the ball. Look at this lineup they rolled out yesterday against the lefty on the mound. So it's not technically even their A lineup per se. Mookie leading off, Trey Turner batting second, Freddie Freeman batting third, Justin Turner cleanup, Chris Taylor batting fifth, Muncy still getting the start against the lefty sixth, Hanser Alberto, who is the backup platoon, playing second base, Trace Thompson, platoon, playing center field, Austin Barnes, the backup catcher, who's still, I know he's had a down year, but he's still been a very good catcher over his career. He's been playing since 2015 with the Dodgers. He knows what he's doing. That's a darn good lineup, man. And the fact that you held that to 2 runs, only allowing 6 hits, Austin Barnes have 2 of them. Have yourself a night, Austin. I would be thrilled. Yes, you've lost 2 out of these 3 games so far, but we've talked about this at the start of the series. This is what you're expecting. And all you're hoping for is competitive games. Feeling like you're in it. Feeling like you have a fighter's chance against this team that you know is better than you. They're 19 games better than the Brewers in record. 19! And yet the Brewers have been right there with them in lockstep, just as good as them. Even without the superstar sexy names like the Dodgers have. And I'm not taking anything away from our Brew crew. But let's be honest. The Dodgers, they get a little more national pub than we do. We kind of like it that way. We're Midwest Knights. We're not one to brag about ourselves, but at the same time, Rowdy Tellez has been very good, and people in baseball know how good he's been. But he's down to a 238 average. He's in a mini slump right now. Freddie Freeman, on top of all the home runs he's hitting and the extension he got, he's hitting 319. 319 as a first baseman. 16 homers isn't like him. He had 31 a year ago, but he's got 39 doubles. The dude just sprays line drives everywhere. Rowdy has 21 doubles, but 24 homers. Everyone has things that make their lineup, cogs that make their lineup go. The Brewers have had to tinker with it a little bit due to injuries earlier in the year. Now Christian Yelich in a leadoff spot seems to be working again. Colton Wong's injuries, having to move him down in the order. Adames got hot. Now he's cooled off. There's a lot more movement in the Brewers lineup versus the Dodgers lineup's like, oh yeah, I know what the 1 through 6 is going to be. They're really good. They're supposed to win the World Series, and who knows if they're going to. But you have to take that measuring stick and say, all that matters about the Brewers is getting in. I don't care if they go 7-0 or 0-7 against the Dodgers. If they go 7-0 against the Dodgers but don't get into the postseason, why should you care? And if they go 0-7 against the Dodgers but they get into the postseason, cool. All right, they made it in. All that matters is wins and losses. I don't care the opponent. They've hung in there. It's been a tough series. You get a win today, that can do a huge boost for morale. Getting a split at home against this team who you're going to face again next week, and then get to go down to Wrigley, 3-day games, taking on the Cubbies. It is laid out in front of the Brewers. These next 7 games or so, final today, 3 games against the Cubs and 3 games against the Dodgers. You're about to learn a lot about the Brewers this week. This could be the time that they click it into gear and realize how talented they are, click back into immediately after the All-Star break Brewers, where they were dominating the Rockies and dominating the Red Sox. I know that's in there for the offense. I know it is. It's still only August 18th. There is time. It can happen in the blink of an eye. All right, let's talk about Eric Lauer's start now. I thought Eric Lauer did everything the Brewers asked of him in this game yesterday, and sometimes baseball doesn't care and gives you a loss. He had 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, 7 strong innings. 5th time this year he's gone 7 innings. 4 hits allowed. 2 of them were home runs. They were both solo shots. 1 by Barnes and won by Max Muncy. And remember, this game started with a 27-pitch first inning. He walked the first 2 batters of the game. He figured out a way to get through that first inning unscathed. He rolled through the next time through the order. And even the third time through the order didn't really burn him. I was so impressed with how well Eric Lauer pitched, and we've talked about it on this podcast. He is the Dodger killer. But it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to be about it. And after that start, we were all looking at each other like, oh my gosh, he just spiked a fastball for a wild pitch. There were runners on the corners and nobody out. How's he going to get out of this? And he got out of it. Give the dude some credit. He hunkered down and got a couple of strikeouts. His cutter was really impressive yesterday. 20 strikes out of 28 cutters thrown. He got a ton of swings and misses on the four-seamer, on the zoom ball, as I got right here on the whiteboard. The zoom ball was zooming enough, but he was also getting ahead early. And we've heard Craig Kimbrel talk about it in the post-game press conferences the last few days and even teasing about it before the series started on Monday. It's just like how important it is to get ahead of the Dodger hitters. They're good for a reason. They're some of the best in all of baseball. You need to make sure you are pitching ahead in the count against these guys. It wasn't an elite number of first pitch strikes for Eric Lauer. He had 17 first pitch strikes out of 26 batters faced. But back to that cutter. That cutter, when he threw it on the first pitch, he threw it 8 times on the first pitch. It was a strike all 8 times he threw that cutter. That was his most important pitch in yesterday's game. And he has continued, as we talked about with Woodruff and as we talked about with Burns, he's continued to vary things up from start to start. Now, his changeup is still the worst pitch in his repertoire. He's really shied away from that. But for a while, he really wasn't using his cutter the last month or so. He started to mix that in a little bit more. Maybe in June, he was using maybe a little curveball happy. Then in July, the slider started to pick back up. Now we're seeing the cutter appear here in August. He has been so good here in the month of August, and really in the whole second half. He has given the Brewers a chance to win in just about every start he has made in the second half. I just wanted to make sure we gave him his due, because I was asked on a radio show right at the start of the second half of saying, hey, who's going to be the Brewers' most important player? What do you look to try to see how do the Brewers stay in the playoff hunt? And my answer was Eric Lauer and Adrian Hauser and Aaron Ashby, the secondary unit, if you will, of the pitching staff, of the rotation. And this is not meant to be a knock on Lauer, Hauser, and Ashby, but they're not the big three. They're not Peralta, Burns, and Woodruff. They're not going to be getting Cy Young Award votes perennially. Burns, of course, the reigning Cy Young Award winner. Woodruff, 5th last year. Peralta, if he stayed healthy, I am sure of it, he would have been top 10 in Cy Young voting. But when you look at what Eric Lauer started with, April, a 1.93 ERA, 34 strikeouts in 23 innings, had an awful June, as he, in his own words, felt like he got kicked in the nuts in June. I love that he's so candid about that. And then July started to turn a quarter, but now, since the All-Star break, 29 in the third innings, 11 runs, that's a 3.38 ERA. The walks are a little up, but he's not afraid to pitch contact, a 2.38 batting average against him. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can continue to do, because now in August, his ERA is sub-3. July's ERA is sub-3, so he's there. It's in there for him to continue to get back in closer to April form. I'm not saying strike everybody out, because what happens in April, pitchers are generally ahead of the hitters coming out of spring training, especially in a shortened spring training when you haven't had live reps as much as you would hope so. April tends to sway toward the pitchers, and then it swings back when the months get warmer and the batters get, 100, 150 plate appearances under their belt. They're starting to feel a little more confident, and that might have got Eric Lauer in June. And the home runs, this is the part we got to talk about, the home runs. He's allowed 24 home runs now this season. That's shocking. It's not a fun number to look at, to talk about, but if there is a silver lining, of those 24 homers, 16 of them have been solo. And the 2 home runs he allowed yesterday were both solo shots. If you told me, again, 2 runs against the Dodgers, Eric Lauer is going to go 7, I said, well, who's pitching on the other side? Oh, it's Gonsolin. I hope that's enough. It wasn't enough. But any other game, you'd probably be thrilled with that. And Lauer has the last 2 starts. Yes, he allowed 3 runs on 2 swings by the Cardinals, but it was their big boppers. It was the guys who you thought would be doing it, Goldschmidt and Arenado. And Goldschmidt feasts on left-handed pitching. And to do this against the Dodger lineup back-to-back. I mean, back-to-back tough quality opponents for Eric Lauer. I am thoroughly impressed with what he's been able to do, swinging back in the right direction. Talking on the post-game show yesterday with Vinny Rottino, Vinny was giving a lot of praise to Eric and a lot of praise to Chris Hook for not getting complacent, not letting this guy fall into the gutter after that tough June. They got back into the lab, made things work. The cutter is back. The slider's been good. Maybe he doesn't need to rely totally on swings and misses, but he's been dotting a lot better. And aside from he got off to an ice-cold start. 8 of the first 11 pitches he threw were balls, including a spiked fastball. After that, he was pretty dynamite. So, hat tip to Eric Lauer. I thought he did his job yesterday. He's not the reason the Brewers lost. Obviously, it's the offense. So now, let's talk a little bit more about the offense. It's not a pity party, but just fair, constructive criticism. Take a seat here. When Christian Yelich hit the RBI single the other way in the 8th inning, that was a big moment for the Brewers. It was the first hit with a runner in scoring position in innings 1 through 9 since last Friday against the Cardinals. So Friday against the Cardinals, they went 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Saturday, they did not have a single at-bat with a runner in scoring position until extras with the placed runner. Sunday, we've talked about it before, no at-bats with a runner in scoring position at all on Sunday. Monday, they went 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. And then yesterday, more of the same. They did not have a hit with a runner in scoring position in the regulation innings, in innings 1 through 9. In fact, their 2 hits with runners in scoring position were their last 2 hits of the game. The bunt by Hunter Renfroe yesterday, or rather on Tuesday, and the game-winning single by Victor Caratini. Otherwise, they were 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position in regulation. They were really struggling against the Dodgers, and that hit might have been the one, but they only had 3 opportunities with runners in scoring position. Tony Gonsolin was really good, but equally so, the Brewers could not find a way to figure him out. Now you got Andrew Heaney going on the mound here today, who seems like the Dodgers have found something with him. He's not going to go very deep in the game. 31 innings and 7 starts, but he's got good numbers. He was with the Angels and the Yankees last year. Anybody can get hot at any time, but when I look at this lineup right now, I think there's one main take that I watch this game and I look at this box score and I look at the at-bats that were taken by the Brewers. If Craig Kimbrel was going to be as aggressive as he is in platooning Colton Wong, because Colton Wong was pinch hit for in the 8th inning when the lefty Caleb Ferguson came in, Mike Brasso came off the bench to pinch hit. I believe, and this is my personal opinion, I believe he's got to be just as aggressive using Keston Hiura off the bench if Andrew McCutchen gets the start against a left-handed starter as the DH, and then a righty's coming in. I believe Keston Hiura has earned the right to be the platoon to come in and hit against the righties because he had 2 more hits against a right-hander yesterday, a pair of singles, including one of them off of Craig Kimbrel, beating the shift, a we, not me swing, base hit through the right side. He even stole a base off Craig Kimbrel in that 9th inning. Hiura has done everything the Brewers have asked of him. And end of July, he was playing good baseball, but there was a roster crunch. He wasn't demoted because he was playing poorly, but just because there was a roster crunch. The Severino timing was what killed him, and now he's back, and with the rosters expanding here in about 2 weeks' time, he should be sticking around for the rest of the way, but I believe it's time. If you're going to be that aggressive with Wong and Brasso, Hiura deserves that opportunity, or maybe do it a strict platoon with Hiura starting against righties, Kutch starting against lefties, because if Hiura keeps this going, him batting 5th, I don't hate it. Batting behind Renfroe and Tellez and batting ahead of Wong, I think that could really work out for the Brewers in the long run, especially when he pops one every now and then, and he's been swinging it the other way. The other thing, too, he only struck out once in this game. He's been striking out less. He's been smarter with his pitch selection. He's fouling off pitches. I'm just really, really happy for Keston. Again, he's changed his batting stance multiple times this year. He had an epic spring training. He understood when he got demoted that he had to get better. He got better, came back, performed well. Roster crunch sent him back down. Had a walk-off homer against the Braves. He's hit some big clutch homers, including the one last weekend against the Reds. I believe Keston deserves some more playing time. But it's everybody else has got to step up. Now, Willie hit a couple of balls hard in this one. Got ripped off a couple of times. Yelich, the clutch single. Tellez has cooled off. Renfroe has cooled off. Urias is ice cold. The team batting average is down to 236 now. League average is about 244. The consistency is what's frustrating, I think, a lot of fans. One day they look like world beaters. The next day, against good pitching, to be fair, against good pitching, they fall apart. But then I see it, and I agree that, well, you're going to face good pitching in the playoffs if you make it that far. You're absolutely right. But playoff games aren't blowouts. Playoff games aren't Thursdays in the regular season. And the other thing about the playoffs, when you're facing elite pitching, they don't get long leashes against you. In the playoffs, the starter's going to go twice through the order. Then they're going to the bullpen. That's just how things work right now. Runs are always at a premium in the postseason. And it's going to be very interesting to see this year, with the lack of travel days in a couple of these series, if they do get lengthy, how will that impact performances by the bullpen? Speaking of the bullpen, though, I just want to get off on a quick tangent here about the Brewers bullpen right now. Hat tip to Peter Strzelecki and Brent Suter. This was a tight contest, a 2-0 game. And once again, the quote-unquote mop-up guys, for lack of a better term, did their job and kept the Brewers in it. Jason Alexander was optioned before the game yesterday, but I look back to him on Monday. Those 3 scoreless innings, keeping the bullpen fresh and ready to go for what they did on Tuesday in that extra inning thriller, that was set up because of Jason Alexander. So now, Peter Strzelecki and Brent Suter pitching in back-to-back days, have now given the Brewers an opportunity with Corbin Burnes pitching today. You have Williams available, you have Boxberger available, you have Bush available, you have Rogers available. Everybody's good to go. And you have your best foot forward going today, trying to get a split against a great team in the Dodgers. The Brewers have been there step by step. I believe they're not the better team, but they're hanging with them. And that's worth something. That can create some morale, that can create some confidence. There's no, participation trophy victories. There's none of those in the big leagues. But there is a difference between splitting a 4-game series with the Dodgers and splitting, with the Cardinals. There is a difference to that. The Cardinals are a good team, but the Dodgers are a better team. Get that? There's a little more oomph behind it. There's oomph, there's juice, there's power. That's what I'm looking for today. Corbin Burnes getting the ball at home against Los Angeles. Sign me up. Can't wait to watch today. 1:10 first pitch on Bally Sports, Wisconsin. There is no WTMJ postgame tomorrow, just a heads up in case you tune in for that. My next show is actually going to be on Saturday for WTMJ, but don't worry, we'll still have pods right here on Locked On Brewers. That's it for today's episode. Right back here tomorrow. Cubbies tomorrow, hopefully recapping a split. We'll see what happens either way. Plenty of season to go. Don't abandon ship yet. Still time to figure this out. My name's Dominic Cotroneo. Keep on swinging.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.